What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of the nation? Your dude Sly here, and welcome back to another Sly Nation game review. Now, throughout my months of non-stop Destiny, Anthem, Mass Effect addictions, I like to take some time out and just try a new game. Just drop everything, leave the FOMO at the door, and see what other games I've missed out on since nosediving into my preferred genres. Shooters like RPGs, MMORPGs, those are like really right up my alley. Third person like The Division, Mass Effect, Anthem, The Witcher, even first person like Destiny, those are my preferred ways of playing and exploring games. Not really a fan of the Diablo style of view or the top-down views of various MOBAs, and definitely no more side-scrollers. I left that back in the 90s for a reason. So when I see a first-person shooter come out that looks intriguing, I kind of save them in the back burner for a rainy day. And two games that have caught my attention here recently, Metro Exodus and Shadow of War, both of which are on Xbox Game Pass, which by the way is fantastic, and both are also multi-platform. You can play them on Xbox or PC. Now, I've played other Metro games on Xbox and found them to be pretty decent gaming, but nothing absolutely breathtaking, nothing over the top. However, they are memorable. Metro has a certain style and kind of a feel that sticks with you. And when I saw a few years back that Metro series was actually going to be continued with Exodus, along with new graphics, multiple areas, etc., I knew it was definitely one to keep an eye out for, and I am definitely glad that I did. Metro Exodus isn't the type of game where you have to play the other older games in order to get or understand. Now, of course, it helps in terms of understanding the whole universe, but even though I played through all of them, it was so long ago that I kind of forget most of the story anyways. However, Metro has a certain style to it. It's on the border of kind of like a AAA and an indie, kind of like THQ Nordic games, but better in terms of quality and playability. You can tell that this console game was definitely ported over to the PC, because even though the graphics are pretty good here, they're not quite PC Ultra type of good. Even on the highest settings on PC, you would be hard pressed to find a difference between Ultra on PC and playing it on an Xbox One X. Perhaps a larger draw distance, better lighting and filtering, but that's really about it. Maybe some improved textures. However, I couldn't really tell that much of a difference besides the load times, of course. Still, PC is obviously the best way to go here, and even though it still has its issues when trying to start it up, once you're in the game, it's fairly rock solid. Controls do need a little bit of adjusting, as some of the default button layouts don't really make a whole lot of sense, but after a little tweaking, you're up and running and good to go. So as for the game itself, I was worried that like the others before it, it was going to be nothing but a dark, claustrophobic, mutant-infested subway tunnel dotted with settlements and furniture right out of Fallout, but luckily you don't really stay in the Metro all that long. It's just enough to give you the taste of Metro's history. Metro's developer 4A Games has improved on its FPS shooter mechanics drastically. The old sluggish feel is replaced by a much improved feel and look, and even though it's not comparable to say Destiny, Apex, or Call of Duty games like that, it does the job well, and it definitely has a more realistic feeling to wielding weapons. Metro Exodus is a survival type of thriller first-person shooter combination. You have to conserve ammo, though not as much as the past games, and everything else you come across you need to hoard. You are constantly on the lookout for scrap, which is pretty much gold in Metro, and it helps you create the much-needed ammo and, of course, medkits. The upgrade system this time around is fairly small, but easy to understand and to use. There's not a plethora of guns to choose from, but again, staying in the realm of reality, you can believe the things RTM carries with them and creates. Molotov cocktails, a throwing knife, a few pipe bombs, and a rip-off AK-47. My favorite weapon, the double-barreled shotgun, and then of course you have the pneumatic type of rifle that at first isn't really the best to use. However, it is silent, so you can, sneak around and be stealthy with it, but once you get to its final status, which it becomes a railgun, it becomes your go-to weapon. Metro was never known for its pristine graphics or realistic facial expressions, mannerisms, movements, etc. They were always a bit clunky and kind of off balance. While drastically improved in detail and texture, it continues that same look throughout Metro Exodus. Again, something on the border of too good to be indie, but not quite good enough to be top-tier AAA graphics. This newest chapter of Metro starts off by questioning the very thing you've been taught since the very first game, that your entire world is toxic, you're the only survivors on the planet besides the remaining militaries of the US and Russia still battling out among the Russian ruins, and the Metro is your only safe harbor. You find out that the chain of command isn't what you thought it was, and that everyone has been fed lie after lie. You leave the subways of Moscow and travel across the former Soviet Union in search of a new home. You encounter animals that have been turned into mutants and men that have turned into animals. Monsters, even cannibals. Everyone is living hard before the inevitable death and doing whatever they want with whoever they want, whenever they want to do it. Or they are led by one person who uses all of their followers to become godlike. Torture, slavery, murder, disgusting sceneries, these are all the norms in the new world. And Metro really does a good and gritty job showing the possible scenarios that could unfold if something like this were to happen in real life. The great thing about this game is that it tells you a gripping story while allowing you to free roam within the other areas that you're in, and you can choose to do whatever you want in whatever order you want to tackle them. However, be warned here, listen to your teammates and your friendly NPCs. If they ask you to do something a certain way, make sure you listen. If they say hurry, then make sure you run. If they say not to kill too many people or go into stealth mode, definitely do so. Now the choice, of course, is totally up to you and you'll complete it regardless, but each action will have big consequences down the road. And that's one reason I like this game, is because your small choices in the beginning actually mean something by the end. It's not like you can do whatever you want and you're going to get the same cookie cutter finale. No, things that you do in the beginning, even small things, do make a difference in the end. What I loved most about Metro Exodus is that number one, you finally get out of the subways for most of the game, and number two, the different areas you get to travel to. You go from city center to swampy wasteland, winter wonderlands, back to a military survival bunker, a desert, alpine mountains, and much more. Each area is new and unique, and that feel is a breath of fresh air for the series, and it is absolutely awesome. However, there are times that the game harshly reminds you that this is a semi-survival game. If you're stuck without medkits and ammo or low on crafting materials, and you need to, say, infiltrate a base with loads of enemies, you now wish you didn't use that shotgun on the easy enemies when you could have went stealth, or used all those medkits when you could have just rested every time. It makes you think differently every time you approach a new area, and once you die, you think, how can I improve this while using as little resources as possible? The combat itself is pretty fun, and with Metro's upgraded first-person shooter mechanics, it makes it much more enjoyable than the game's past. However, one thing the game is missing out on are big fights and very few big boss battles. Now, it's not totally void of them, but a few more huge bases to break into, a few more big boss battles, that would have spiced things up a lot, and that was a missed opportunity, I would say. Now, even though you can tackle whatever you want in whatever order you wish, your arm compass is straight out of Pirates of the Caribbean. It always points to the way you need to go in order to progress the story. So if you ever feel lost or you don't know what to do next, all you have to do is look at your arm and follow the compass. That makes things really easy, but also easy to explore, because you know no matter how far you go or how lost you get, all you have to do is look at your compass and you know you can progress to the next story mission or the next area or whatever's next in the game itself. Each area has hidden collectibles in the form of journals and tapes, which gives you a glimpse at how each area came to be, and I found myself taking the time to listen and to read through each of them as I picked them up, which is something I usually rarely do. As far as NPCs and your friends go, Metro has this way of showing off your teammates and comrades that not only makes you care for them, but makes you a little more curious about them as well, which leads you to like them even more. Now, there are no dialogue options, but once you get close enough to an NPC, he or she will start talking, and a lot of the times they are lengthy stories that fill you in on not only the person you're talking to, but yourself as well, and where you fit into each friendship. You can listen to your wife Anna talking forever about the dream the two of you share living outside the subway tunnels of Metro, somewhere near a beach with clean air, blue skies, soft green grass, and freedom all around you. Or you can go to talk to the train conductor and listen to his stories about, what he used to do back in Hansa. You can go to the American on there, Sam, and talk about the different relationships between Russia and American on Russian soil. All these different small stories are there to be had, and it's actually a really good idea to go and listen to them. It's this bond between you and Anna and your team that really motivates the story and drives it from early on. It's these multiple stories unfolding together that really sucked me into Metro Exodus. I started it like 8-9 days ago, and every day I would play a little more, and a little more, to the point where I was so into it, I started having dreams about it. Now, I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's just something about this game that makes you like it. Perhaps there's some kind of, subliminal Russian messaging hidden within the audio that makes you kind of subconsciously love it. But once you get into the game, you just keep coming back for more. Admittedly, though, it does take you a little bit to get to that point. The start of the game is admittedly rather uninteresting and pretty much classic Metro. Tight, dark spaces, mutants, sneaking, claustrophobic areas, homemade weapons, etc. But once you get on the train, the Aurora, that's when the game really starts. And after an hour or so, you start getting that just one more mission, mentality. And next thing you know, it's 5 a.m. and the sun's coming up. Now the game itself is surprisingly long, especially if you go back and check out all of the areas within each map you come across. Every question mark on the map could hold a brand new weapon, piece of technology, new lore, or tons of precious scrap, or even moral situations where you can free prisoners, slaves, etc. If you looked at everything while doing the missions the right way, it will take you at least a week or more of gaming if you're going hardcore, weeks to complete it if you hit it up casually. The story itself really isn't anything award-winning. The voice actors aren't those who take, tens of millions of dollars to buy. And like I mentioned before, the graphics aren't top of the line, but the way everything comes together, the way the game is set up, how it flows, how it interacts with you as a player, as well as within the world itself and the story, that's what makes this game fun. You always think you're going to stumble onto something awesome right around the next bend, or that crawling through the next drain pipe will get me out and lead me to this, beautiful new area and to freedom. Metro is full of these kind of moments, and even though it starts off slow, it ends on a high note with a rather well-designed ending that kind of gets the eyes all misty. If I was forced to give a rating on a scale of 1 to 10 for Metro Exodus, I'd have to say I'd put it, somewhere in middle 8s, 8.5 or so, maybe a little higher. It should probably deserve all 10 stars because of the situation 4A Games and the Metro team was put in. During the development of Exodus, Russia decided that it wanted some of its old Soviet territory back, and I'm not talking about, in the game, I'm talking about in real life. That is, of course, when Russia decided to invade the Ukraine and seize the Crimea Peninsula. I guess annexed is the better word to use here. But anyways, this caused not only 4A Games to close up shop and be put in a tight bind, but several others as well. And if I'm not mistaken, CD Projekt Red had to move its studios into Poland. And 4A Games moved its entire studio, including all of its employees and all of their families, to the island of Malta, where they currently reside to this day. So, fleeing the conflict in Ukraine, setting up shop in a brand new country where they speak a brand new language, brand new laws, on top of the personal tragedy of having to flee your homeland, I have to give them kudos for even finishing this game in 2019. That must have been a tough time for everyone. But this game could have also been kind of a great distraction and almost a therapy for overcoming it. I can't say for sure because I personally wasn't there, but I do know this. If you've played the Metro games in the past and enjoyed them, then this game will be the best one out of them all. Now, if you're one of those gamers who only really enjoys playing top-tier AAA shooters, it could be perhaps a little too rough around the edges for you to get into it. But if you give it a chance, it's a game that is worth checking out and a game studio that deserves the respect. And with that, that is about it, comrades. Charge your flashlights, load your shotguns, change your gas mask filters, and hit the railroad of post-nuclear Russia. As I said, it's a story and an experience that is definitely worth checking out. Okay guys, well that's it. As always, thank you for watching and of course for supporting Sly Nation. I always mean to make more game reviews and it's nice to talk about something else besides Destiny, Anthem, Cyberpunk, Mass Effect, or what have you. So keep it here as I plan on uploading game reviews at a more frequent pace. And as always, thank you for not only watching, but for choosing to stay here. You have a huge amount of choices on YouTube, and it is so awesome that you choose to watch me. So thank you guys for that. It is freaking amazing. Now, if you're new to the nation and my channel, then welcome comrades. Subscribe for more Destiny 2, Cyberpunk, Anthem, and game review videos. Spank the thumbs up button for me, but only if you enjoyed yourself. And if you played Metro Exodus, comment down below and let me know your thoughts about it. Did you like it? Good, bad, okay, not your type of game? Let me know down below. If you wish to catch up on that cool place called the interwebs, hit me up on Twitter or Facebook at SlyNation or SlyNation Gaming on Facebook. Have a great rest of the week, guys. Keep those eyes open for more videos coming out here soon. But until then, this is your dude Sly, and I'll catch you all next time.